Let us talk about the third sutra of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which says Tada Drashtuh Swarupe Avasthanam. When we divide it into individual words, it becomes Tada Drashtuh Swarupe Avasthanam. The translation is, then the seer is established in his own self. Let us understand it. Then the seer. What is the meaning of then? It means after the chitta vrittis has been cessated, after the mental modifications have been removed, and when the mind is absolutely clear, when there are no traces of any mental modifications or any thought process, then the seer means the practitioner of yoga, then the seer establishes in his own self. So these three sutras which we have seen, the third which we are discussing now and the previous two, we should take it all together, study together in a sequence, and that will make a complete understanding of the subject matter of yoga. So we have seen the first sutra, Atha Yoga Nushasanam, that now is the time to study the yoga. Now is the time to practice yoga. So now when you are completely ready, when you have done all the prior preparations, when you have clearly understood that yoga is a path of inward journey, you are no longer interested in creating goals for the outside world, that much clarity is there inside you. Now in this present moment, you have to be highly aware to study the practice of yoga. So now suggests that now when you are ready, when you have done all the prior preparations, and now in this present moment, when you are fully aware, and naturally, obviously, we are aware only in the present moment. If our mind is in the future or in the past, we cannot say that we are fully aware or fully present. So the study of yoga can happen only in this moment, in the present moment, and naturally you can stay in present moment only. Is there anything apart the present moment? There is nothing beyond the present. So now when you are ready, let us start the study of yoga. And then Patanjali says that yoga means chitta vritti nirodhaha. Chitta vritti means mental modifications. Chitta is the mind, vritti is the modifications. So we have to remove the mental modifications. Every time the mind is modified in the form of thought that is generating within us. For example, there is a mango tree, so there is a vritti in the form of a mango tree inside me, or my mind has been modified in the form of a mango tree, and that's why I am able to cognize that tree. So when I say this is a mango tree, so there is a series of steps at a split of second. A step-by-step process is there, and finally this vritti in the form of a mango tree is stored inside me. So what happens when I see a mango tree? In the beginning it is a tree, So this impression is coming inside me that in front of me there is a tree, but I don't know which tree is this. Now this first step, where you receive the impression through the senses, and when mind attached with the senses receives this impression that there is certain form in front of me, this is manas. So chitta, as we have seen, comprises of 4 compartments: man, buddhi, chit and ahankara. These all 4 compartments taken together is known as chitta. So these are not watertight compartments. It is the same chitta. When it functions as manas, we call it manas. When the same chitta functions as buddhi, we call it buddhi. So first thing is the reception of the impression of that form, that certain form is there, but I am not clear what it is. So this first part of deliberation, of receiving the information and deliberating, what is this, what is this, this is the function of manas or mind. Then I decided this is a mango tree, because from my past impressions and from my past knowledge, I concluded safely that this is a mango tree. Now there is clear decision. This decision making is buddhi. Now I was recalling from inside. It means some memories are stored, some understanding, some knowledge is stored. I retrieved it. That is chitta or memory. And then finally I say that I know this tree as a mango tree. This feeling of I-ness is ahankara. And finally the vritti is stored inside me. So like this, innumerable vrittis are arising within us, and each vritti is like a layer upon the Swarupa or the self. So the self is obscured, it is covered under these chitta vrittis, and that's why Patanjali is saying that removal of these chitta vrittis or cessation of these chitta vrittis is yoga. So whatever we are learning, whatever we are understanding, cognizing, is nothing but a vritti. In fact, technically we say that knowledge is nothing but a generation of vritti. No knowledge can arise within us without the birth of a vritti. Now it sounds maybe sounding a little confusing. One side we say that it is knowledge that liberates, it is the ultimate knowledge, highest knowledge that liberates us. On the other side we are saying that without the birth of a vritti, knowledge cannot arise. If knowledge is arising, vritti is also arising. If vritti is there, it means we can never know our real self. We can never establish ourselves in yoga. So how to solve this problem? It is very simple. Whenever there is a birth of a knowledge, it is a vritti. So in yoga we are not interested in generating any knowledge, in creating a new knowledge inside us of any object or subject around us. Yoga simply says that you have to just unlearn yourself. Whatever you have stored inside you, you have to just clear it. And once everything is cleared, naturally you are established in your own self. And in some of your videos, in some of my videos, I have told that at the highest point, it is the effortlessness in yoga. You are not making any effort. You have to just realize, because the moment you make an effort, definitely vritti will take birth. The moment vritti will take birth, some form of knowledge is coming inside you, and that knowledge will again create a layer around the self. So when we have completely cleared the mind, when we have calmed down the fluctuations of the mind, the vrittis are like fluctuations in the form of impressions and knowledge that is arising inside us continuously. When all that has been pacified, that is yoga. And then the seer is established in his own self. Tada Drashtuh Swarupe Avasthanam. So here Patanjali is talking about the pure consciousness or pure awareness. Drashta being established in his own self means that now you are in the stage of pure consciousness. Earlier, what you had inside you was the impressions that were being created by the chitta. Chitta itself is inert. It is matter, it is fine matter. Chitta doesn't have its own consciousness. It has a borrowed consciousness. It borrows the consciousness from the Swarupa or the self or the pure consciousness, and then it reflects whatever is occurring on the surface of the chitta. So that reflection we are assuming as true. Now when there is nothing left inside chitta, when chitta is totally blank, when it has nothing to reflect, naturally the practitioner, the seer, is established in his own self, in his own light. He is enjoying his own light. Now that light is not being reflected on the chitta, and when it is not reflected on the chitta, chitta vanishes and person liberates. That's the entire story. So it is the seer. Finally the seer establishes in his own self. So in the beginning you are a practitioner on the path of yoga, and then you transformed into a seer. That is very important to understand. Now seer is someone who sees. We have to just observe and see. That is the method of yoga ultimately. Step by step, from yama, niyama to asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana. When we come to the dhyana, it is the process of mere observation, effortless observation. So in the path of yoga you actually learn how to drop the activity, how to unlearn, how to undo yourself, and then you become seer. You begin to see the emergence of the vrittis inside you, and when you start observing, start seeing them, then you understand their real nature, that these vrittis are not real. This vritti is not the real self. What I was considering as me and myself was just the reflection on the surface of the chitta of the original self. So it is important to understand the concept of seer. Who is a seer? A seer is someone who just observes like a witness without any involvement. So from practitioner you are transformed into a seer, where you can see exactly what is the nature of this world. And when you have this skill of seeing, very easily you can manage your life. You are now the master of your life. You can see when the thought of the anger is arising inside you, you can see it. When the thought of craving and aversion is arising inside you, you can see it. and when you see it, you know it's a reality, that it lasts only for 1 to 2 seconds, that's it, and then it dies away, it withers away. And that is the reality of the material life. It has no existence of its own. Everything is borrowed from the pure consciousness. That is the reality. So these are the 3 sutras in a sequence that we study. Atha Yoga Anushasanam or Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Now let us begin the discipline of yoga. Now you are fully ready to receive, because you have certain degree of clarity within yourself. You have done certain preparation. Now you are ready to study the subject matter of yoga. What is yoga? Yoga means chitta, vritti, nirodha. You have to remove the mental modifications. What are mental modifications? Whatever you are seeing, hearing, understanding, learning, everything is mental modifications. Without your chitta being modified in the form of the object that you are looking, you cannot grasp it. You are listening to me right now only because your chitta is transforming itself in the form of listening, in the form of the chitta vritti of the listening, and that listening is coming inside you, and that is being stored inside you. And when you remove all these chitta vrittis, you are established in your original self. Patanjali calls it Swarupa. Some call it Brahman, some Atman. Buddha called it Nirvana. Other name for it is Kaivalya or ultimate reality. The sutra for it is Tada Drashtuh Swarupe Avasthanam. So in this way we have got the meaning and the essence of yoga with the help of these first three sutras of the Samadhi Pada. If you have any questions, do write to me or leave your questions in the comment box and I will reply to it.